Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door here, and I'm back with another review. This time, I saw Bad Kids Go to Hell. This is a 2012 comedy thriller film directed by Matthew Spradlin, and it stars Cameron Dean Stewart, Augie Duke, Ollie Faulkner, Roger Edwards, Mark Donato, Amanda Alk, Ben Browder, and Judd Nelson. In this film, on a stormy Saturday afternoon, 6 students from Crestview Academy begin to meet horrible fates as they serve out their detentions. Is a fellow student to blame, or perhaps Crestview's alleged ghosts are behind the terrible acts? So, what did I think of Bad Kids Go to Hell? Well, I wanted to actually watch this in its sequel again because I remembered not loving this one. I still don't love it, but I do think it has something there. It's just there's a few things holding it back from being as good as the sequel from what I remember. I'm still gonna rewatch the sequel, but from what I remember, the sequel didn't take itself as serious, and it kind of had a bit more of a fun tone. And I think if you're gonna do a comedy thriller, or a thriller with comedic elements, you kind of have to not take yourself super serious for the most part. But let me get to the cast. Cameron Dean Stewart plays Matt Clark. He's a guy who gets himself into the... I forgot if they even explained why he did this, but he gets himself onto the detention list. He's one of the best actors in the film, for sure. Also, I'm sorry if I've got a hard candy in my mouth. He does a good enough job, even if his character isn't that interesting, really. He's kind of a bit of a whatever character. So, not a lot to him. Not much in the way of backstory for any of these characters, and that's a bit of an issue I have with this film. Augie Duke plays Veronica Harmon. She's kind of the bad girl, I guess. She's fine. Ollie Faulkner plays Trisha Wilkes. She's okay. She's the senator's daughter. Roger Edwards plays Craig Cook. He's okay as well. Mark Donato plays Tariq Ahmed. I think he's supposed to be Armenian, and there's a bunch of jokes about him being a terrorist or whatever, whatever the fuck. Amanda Alk plays Megan McDurst. She's a nerdy girl, I guess, whose dad is a judge. One of them is a congressman, and one of their dads is a judge. I can't remember which one is which. I think she was the worst actress in this. Every time she talked, I wanted to cut my ears off. Her voice just really got on my nerves. Jeffrey Schmidt plays Dr. Day. He's basically the teacher that puts everybody into the detention or whatever. He's fine, I guess. I didn't get much of him, and at certain bits he's fine, certain bits he's not great. Ben Browder as Max. He's basically kind of he's the... I can't say much about his character, because I'd give too much away, and I kind of want to do this as a non-spoiler. But he's kind of a mysterious character. He's a janitor at the school. The main character and a couple of the others he seems to be a bit buddy with them. But I like Ben Browder. I've never seen him in what he's popular for, which is Farscape and Stargate SG-1. But and Judd Nelson as Headmaster Nash. Judd Nelson, to be honest, this is a paycheck role. He really doesn't do anything other than Just a second, I'm finishing this off so I don't have to move it around my mouth while I'm talking. He's here to be on the poster, as a name on the poster or something, so people will buy it. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, but at least Sean Astin, I remember in the sequel, got to do a bit more, and he was actually pretty funny. In this, most of Judd Nelson's lines are, well, there's multiple lines of him calling a kid in a wheelchair or the retarded boy. And, like, I get what kind of humor they're going for, and I usually can be into that type of humor, but it's not executed well. And I'd say my biggest issue with this film as a whole is the characters. I remember the characters in the sequel not being amazing either, but at least they were fun to watch. Because you have basically what this movie is, and I know I'll get to what this movie is based on, but you have a movie that's you have a movie that's trying to be like Breakfast Club meets Final Destination in a way. The DVD itself says Breakfast Club meets The Grudge, which I don't really get that, but excuse me, Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm having a day. And I just don't think, if you're gonna have a movie like this, where a lot of what happens in it hinges on the characters, you have to have a bit more interesting characters. Like, these characters are kind of just meh. Even our main character, which, again, Cameron Dean Stewart's giving the best performance here. It's not like it's an amazing performance, but he's still doing what he's supposed to, and he's not completely annoying or a complete asshole. And I was rooting for his character. These other characters, even at the very beginning, before I knew more about their involvement in things, I was like so annoyed by them. Like, even Veronica, I was like, oh, maybe she's just weird. But like, yeah, the characters are a big issue with this film. Another issue is the writing, with a lot of the jokes. A lot of the comedy in this is, oh, you're a whore, you snort coke. You're a terrorist because you have a funny last name. Because your last name's Ahmed. There's literally a bit where the white girl calls the black guy and the N-word, and I'm like, why is this here? Why does this need to be in the movie? Why do we need to suddenly throw this in? And basically, what you've got with this movie, if you are not into the thriller aspect of it, you are going to hate this fucking movie. Because if you go into it looking for a comedy, I feel like you're going to be sorely disappointed. Because the comedy here, kind of like Excision that I just watched, the comedy is almost non-existent. There are ways to do comedy thrillers well. There are. Do not get me wrong. I've liked comedy thrillers before. But, this, like, again, I like the movie. I think it's decent enough. But, there's not a ton to talk about, though. It's one of those movies where I would never watch it again. I will only watch it again because I'm thinking of watching the sequel, which is what I'm going to review next. But, other than that, I can't think of much of a reason I'd have to watch the movie again. And this movie kind of ends on it's not a cliffhanger, but it is kind of an ending that would show like, oh, there's going to be a sequel. And I'm glad they did make the sequel, because I remember the sequel being fun. And I remember the lead being a lot better. I remember Sam Henry being a bit more interesting as a lead than Cameron Dean Stewart. Even though I like Cameron Dean Stewart in this. But I think she had a bit more energy, a bit more spunk, and I liked that. But onto the things I did like. Just a second, I had to write stuff down. Oh yeah, this is based on a graphic novel, or graphic novels. Bad Kids Go to Hell and Bad Kids Go to Hell, which this was going to be called, and then changed to Bad Kids of Crestview Academy. When I first saw the sequel, I saw it before I saw this. I did not know they were related. Now I see that they're under the same production company, Bad Kids Productions, and it makes sense. They are very similar in many ways, but the director of this, Matthew Spradlin, this was his directorial debut. He hasn't really directed any feature films after this, mostly shorts, but this was his feature film debut, and he is directing a movie based on his own comics, or his own graphic novels, which I think is pretty interesting. The direction here is not horrible. Oh yeah, another issue I had with the film, there were some really bad sound mixing. There was some really bad sound mixing at certain points. Like, whenever the sprinklers went off, whenever, like, somebody started a fire or something, or the sprinklers went off, I noticed the dialogue, it's either really poorly dubbed, or the sound mixing just goes to shit, because I can only hear the sprinklers, or I can hear an overblown mic. Like, somebody is way too loud and way too close to the mic doing the ADR. So, that was definitely a bit of an issue, but for the most part, this film looks pretty good. I don't know what the budget of this one was. I only know the budget of the sequel. It's not a bad looking movie. It's not. And from what I can tell, the CGI, there wasn't a ton of CGI, to be honest, and I'm glad for that. I think in the sequel there wasn't a lot of CGI either, which is good. Mostly practical effects. But there was one bit where they're like looking out of a window and there's like construction stuff. I think that was CGI. It looked kind of iffy, but it didn't bother me because they didn't show it like constantly. But another thing I really did like, the musical score from Brian Flores was actually pretty great. It is kind of a like techno type of, like, electronic type score, but I think it worked. It kind of reminded me of Danganronpa in a way. It's literally a song that's like it reminded me of a song that plays during trials in either Danganronpa 1 or 2, and I actually did like the score quite a bit. It fit the film, it fit the thriller, the teen thriller atmosphere of this. And the mystery of it all. This film does drag a bit in the middle. I keep forgetting things that I was putting as comments. The film does drag a bit in the middle. Like, there's a lot of walking around and talking and not really learning much about the characters in the middle. Which, if the film flowed a bit better, I'd say that this was a good movie. Like, good instead of decent. But, for me, just the dragging did... I was starting to lose a bit of focus for the film when it started dragging. So, I am glad that this film had a compelling mystery, and what happened wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting I was expecting something different, so I will say the twists at the end worked quite well. But yeah, like, would I recommend it? I don't know. If you're into this type of thing, if you like films like this, I guess go ahead, go for it. I don't know how accurate this is to the comics, or the graphic novels, whatever the fuck term. So, I guess if anybody has read the graphic novels, if you can tell me which movie this or Crestview Academy is more accurate to the novels. Because apparently Crestview Academy is based on Bad Kids Go to Hell, the second graphic novel. So, if somebody can tell me, that'd be nice. I'd love to know. But for the most part, I did enjoy this. I almost forgot something. There are some pretty cool kills. There are a couple pretty nice and gory kills that I wasn't that looked pretty nice. They were effects. They didn't like use CGI or anything. But yeah, this is overall, it's a decent enough mystery thriller. I wouldn't call it comedy though. The comedy in this is just so wretched when they try to do it. But yeah, it's a fun enough movie. It works. That's all I can say on it. So that was my review of Bad Kids Go to Hell. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you have recommendations, put them down there as well. And Movie Reviewer Next Door out.